Africa remains optimistic as Tinubu is sworn in. Local government roles revitalized. Good evening, I am Faitha Ngaga. You can also follow us live via our YouTube channel, TBC Online. Also, get all the latest news through our Instagram, Facebook and Twitter pages at TBC Online. President Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan has attended the swearing-in ceremony of the new president of Nigeria, Bola Tinubu, in Abuja. The new Nigerian president has been sworn in after emerging the winner of the last general election held in February this year, defeating his opponents Abubakar Atiku, Peter Obi, and Rabiu Kwankwaso. Leaders of various nations attended the occasion. Speaking after the ceremony, President Tinubu promised to serve the people of Nigeria by increasing the economic growth and improving security situation in various areas of the country. Tinubu, the former governor of Lagos, becomes the 5th president to lead Nigeria since the civilian regime was restored in the country in 1999. Tinubu takes the top leadership from his predecessor, Muhammadu Buhari, who led the nation for 2 terms since 2015. The Vice President, Dr. Philip Mpango, has directed the leaders of the Association of Local Authorities of Tanzania, ALET, to observe their limits and roles to avoid conflicts in serving the people. The Vice President was opening the 37th General Meeting of the association held at the Arusha International Conference Center, AICC. Sajela Kongola has prepared the following report, read to you by Lulua Mohammed.
The Vice President, Dr. Philip Mpango, is representing President Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan at the 37th AJAT General Meeting, where the ALAT Vice Chairman used the opportunity to request monetary interests of the councillors, directors and executives of local governments to be reviewed.
Today, the group of honorable councillors counts more than 12 years old. 100,000 were added, and it reached 350. We think it is good for the government to look at the right way to improve and build the productivity. It is good that we improve the issue of revenue correction because local governments are the key to revenue correction and the provision of services that will match the revenue.
The Minister of State in the President's Office, Regional Administration and Local Government, Angela Kairuki, urges the local governments to manage well the funds collected from their areas.
It is my belief that other 56 councils, which have not yet been able to reach collections of 2 billion Tanzanian shillings and more, will continue to push and stress to see how they will be able to increase their income. Our desire and expectation is to learn from the points that are being made. Also to ensure that we do not encounter arguments that repeat themselves every year.
The Vice President, Dr. Philip Mpango, insists that all political executives and leaders should perform their duties for the interest of the citizens and opt constructive dialogue whenever arguments or different views on issues emerge.
Don't be abusive leaders, and I mean any kind of abuse. A leader of fixed-term government is forbidden to be associated with the sexual violence or any kind of violence.
The issue of some the councillors vowing to remove their directors was mentioned, and he instructs the Minister of State in the President's Office, Regional Administration and Local Government to work on their request of increasing allowances for councillors.
Ipo minong'ono kuwa baadhi ya wakurugenzi wa halmashauri na watendaji
There are rumors that some council directors and executives are being interfered by regional and district commissioners in their duties. In addition to this, all leaders must work together and hold constructive talk for the benefit of the people they lead, and when there are argument or different perspective or implementation. There are instances of councillors appointing directors. Despite your contribution, this matter affects work performance, and I would like to remind you that your main goal in your position is to bring development and not to undermine them.
Furthermore, the Vice President has instructed the Minister responsible for Works and Transport to form a team to inspect performance of the Tanzania Mechanical and Electronics Service Agency.
Baada ya hapo ndipo tutafanya uamuzi wa msingi.
After this step is taken, we will make a basic decision whether the government will allow the council to have its own workshops or this should be implemented immediately.
Permanent Secretary for Northern Province in Zambia commends the government for the large investment made in Lake Tanganyika after spending more than 108 billion shillings to complete the 4 ports of Karema, Lagosa, Kasanga and Kabwe. Speaking on the investment conference forum in Rukwa, the Permanent Secretary says the ports are going to change lives of the people of the 4 countries surrounded by Lake Tanganyika. Jose Cheo has more.
The Tanzania Ports Authority, TPA, has noted that the completion of the ports in Lake Tanganyika will open up new economic opportunities for Tanzania and the other neighboring countries.
TPA has invested more than 100 billion Tanzanian shillings along the Lake Tanganyika. As you must have seen, some of the ports are brand new, the infrastructure are fantastic. So I invite you and urge you to start working with us.
Completion of the 4 port construction projects in Lake Tanganyika will not only benefit Tanzanians, but also the people of the countries around the Lake Tanganyika.
That kind of investment is needed back home. And that is the only way we can promote the interborder business. I want to believe with the investment of over $42 million that you have put into the development of these ports has came to what is called smuggling. Because at any given time, at any given place, the authorities are there and people are complying in the tax regime. Equally, back home, that initiative we want to copy from the Tanzanian government to do what you've done, and I say congratulations.
The Rukwa Region Administration Secretary, Gerald Kusaya, has assured investors that the doors of investment are open in the Rukwa region for citizens from Zambia, Congo, and Burundi.
From deep of my heart, of course, I'm very happy, of course, and I will be always thanking you, people of Zambia. You have showed us a real friendship.
The region of Rukwa invite your investors in different areas out of the region and outside of the country come to invest in Rukwa region due to the environment of investors is attractive.
There's a lot of energy to make a political relationship, but we did nothing about economy. We did nothing about people-to-people relationship. We are here today to cut that off.
In the ongoing investment forum in Sumbawanga, various investment opportunities in the Rukwa region have been made clear. Jose Cheo, TBC News, Rukwa.
Thank you very much, Jose Cheo, for that report. Now let's have a look at other stories. The East African Crude Oil Pipeline project will not hinder the people to continue with their economic activities in the areas that the project passes. It's a report by Linus Gamara, read to you by Lulua Mohammed.
This is East African Crude Oil Pipeline project that will be 1,147 kilometers long, where its construction, apart from providing jobs, will also open various economic opportunities in East Africa and attract more investors. During the construction in Uganda and Tanzania, the project has employed more than 3,000 Tanzanians and have created 300 permanent jobs. During the seminar to the parliamentarians about the project, other project opportunities were identified.
Makambi ambayo yatajengwa yatawapa wananchi elimu, mafunzo.
The camps that will be built will provide people with education and the training, as well as employment. Also, those who are affected by the project will be in an environment that is better than before.
Ambazo ni bora kuliko zile walizokutwa nazo kabla ya mradi kuguswa.
Maybe 3,000 people, 3,000 Tanzanians working directly on aspects of ECOP, and then all of them require hotels and planes and transport and food, feeding and everything else. So there's a multiplier effect.
The chairman of the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Energy and Minerals, Dunstan Kitandula, urges the strategic projects to equally promotional to provision of social services to the people around the project.
We will develop a strategy to ensure that the roads in those areas are reliable. Our Ugandan colleagues have been able to ensure those areas have good road infrastructures, and they have taken steps. They are building the airport. We should go as government to see those areas and make sure we remove any reason for objections.
Deputy Minister of Energy Stephen Biabato says for the project to be completed on time to transport the crude oil from Hoima in Uganda to Chongoleani in Tanga region, the government will continue to ensure security is maintained.
Siwe na wasiwasi na utekelezaji wa mradi na tusiwaamini wale ambao wanatakia nchi yetu na nchi jirani mabaya.
We should not worry about the implementation of the project and should not believe those who wish bad things for our country and the neighboring country by saying false things about the project.
The Dar es Salaam Port Director, Mrisho, says the Port of Dar es Salaam expects to exceed its target in handling both incoming and transit cargo shipments to the tune of 20 million tons. This surpasses the initial target of 19.6 million tons in the 2022-2023 fiscal year. He was giving an update on the expansion of Dar es Salaam Port, which is expected to cost approximately 421 billion Tanzanian shillings to its completion. Rehema Sababili has more.
The Dar es Salaam port boasts a number of incentives, one being the capacity to handle approximately 18 million tons of cargo per year. The goal of the port for this financial year is to reach 19.6 million tons, and the government aims to enable the port to be able to handle approximately 35 million tons of cargo by 2025. Speaking about the progress of the port's improvements, the director of the Port of Dar es Salaam, Mrisho, says the ongoing improvements of the port have so far been able to save more than 18 million tons of cargo.
I thank the government for investing in Dar es Salaam Port. As of now, we have a lot of successful story, especially on the increasing number of vessels coming to Dar es Salaam Port. The rate of cargo, import and export cargo, which passes through Dar es Salaam Port, and the revenue. That is all issues that we can say the investment that made by the government has produced a lot of successful in Dar es Salaam Port. So in Dar es Salaam Port, we are still proceeding to operate to service our customers, especially on the transit customers, DR Congo, Zambia, Rwanda.
Representing the stakeholders of the Port of Dar es Salaam, the director of the shipping company Epic Cargo, Tony Swai, said that through the improvements that are being made by the port, they have helped speed up the delivery of cargo at the port.
To be very precisely is to say that there is a lot of changes which have been made. And as I pointed out earlier, that our aim is to reach 30 million tons to the year 2025. As at the moment we range in between of 13 million tons.
The project improvements have been involved the expansion of entrance gate, the car storage area, and the piers to enable ships with a length of more than 300 meters to dock at the port. Reporting from Dar es Salaam, Rehema Sababili, TBC News.
Japanese ambassador to Tanzania, Yasushi Misawa, calls on young Tanzanians to take full advantage of scholarships and training programs given not only by the Japanese embassy, but also by JICA, Japanese universities, and the Japanese private sector. Ambassador Misawa made the call during an interview with my colleague Nasser Kingo, and here he starts by explaining the current educational exchange programs by the Japanese embassy.
The Embassy of Japan is in charge of the scholarship offered by the Ministry of Education, Culture, Sports, Science and Technology, which is called MEXT. This year, we are accepting application from Tanzanian youth between age of 18 and 35 who wish to study for undergraduate or postgraduate.
When you look at Japanese history from the period of Jomon to Yayoi period, now Japan is number 3 in terms of being the largest economy in the world. Do you offer any kind of leadership trainings for Tanzanians, the current leaders, or young people who are the future generation?
Yes, there is a program called Ship for World Youth Program offered by the government of Japan. In this program, around 200 youth, including Japanese, spent 1 month together in order to develop their skill for leadership through discussion and intellectual communications. Restrictions due to the COVID-19 have been lifted and the program resumed in full form from this year.
Some of the beneficiaries of the educational exchange programs highlight how effective and life-changing the programs have been.
I was able to learn behavior of a person disposing waste, and apart from learning the behavior, I was also able to monitor the health status of a person from the disposed waste, and also calculating or estimating the economic loss. As you are disposing a product, that product you bought it with some money, and so its economic value has ended in the dustbin. So we estimate how much you have wasted. So that was part of the innovation that I get from Japan.
I was one of the participants for the Ship of World Youth Leaders program in 2016, and that program was very nice because it mobilized youth from different parts of the world, and during our time we were more than 300 from different countries, and from Tanzania we were only 12 delegates, and we represented our country.
In other news, youth in Great Lakes countries have been urged to continue maintaining peace and tranquility to ensure economic and social opportunities. The call was given during the Youth Great Lakes Network Dialogue and Peace meeting being held in Mwanza. Moses Matthew has more.
The peace and tranquility stakeholders from different parts in Lake Zone regions meet in Mwanza City, conversing on the best ways to restrain the ongoing matters that thwart peace to youths in Great Lakes region. The stakeholders have reflected on the challenges that are mostly recurring and seem to force youths to commit crimes in their respective Great Lakes partner states of Rwanda, Uganda, Congo, and Tanzania.
Youth to become more accountable in terms of protecting peace, harmony, and of course security, but also to make public and private institutions.
The conflicts in here in Tanzania is very different from how it is happening in Uganda or in Rwanda and Congo. So what we are sharing with the youth from other countries from East Africa is how they manage their peace and how they do resolution of the conflicts that they have.
Dr. Kasongi, who is the facilitator of the meeting, unveils that it is better to find sustainable means with mechanisms that will help young men and women to shy away from moral deeds.
Masuala ya uchaguzi, ushiriki wa vijana.
In matters of elections, the participation of young people is very important. There should be politicians who are trusted, and often elections need to treat young people as active participants.
On the other hand, the coordinator for Youth's Great Lakes Network Dialogue and Peace Tanzania chapter, Jimmy Luhende, affirmed that the project has shown massive impact by bringing together various leaders who have a decision-making power in their communities.
We have religious leaders with us. They have their efforts in there. We have the police with us. We have the social development and welfare offices. They're all here with us to do a reflection together to see the best way to move forward, to prosper or to advance the agenda for peace and conflict management.
On his side, the Ilemela District Commissioner Hassan Masala called on youths to disown issues that might bring about total insecurity in their respective areas.
Uzoefu umeonyesha kuwa hali ya vita na machafuko haijawahi kuruhusu maendeleo katika nchi,
Experience showed that the state of war and chaos has never allowed development in the country facing that challenge. Due to the various efforts made, we are happy now that fighting between countries has continued to decrease.
The Project for Youths Network engaged more than 100 youths in Great Lakes countries whose objective is to make them interact, share experience that will guide them for the best solution to face challenges in their areas. Moses Matthew, TBC News.
Now from Mwanza, let's head over to Iringa region, where the Secretary General of the ruling party, Chama cha Mapinduzi, CCM, Daniel Chongolo, has directed the Minister for Water, Juma Aweso, and the officials of the National Irrigation Commission to visit the new Masaka Dam located in Iringa district and explore the best ways to build better systems of irrigation. The CCM General Secretary Chongolo has given the instructions after inspecting the water reservoir and being informed that the Irrigation Commission has not yet visited the project. Irene Mwakalinga has more details.
The Masaka Water Reservoir, located at Masaka Ward in Iringa District, has been constructed by the government through the Refugee Basin Office at a cost of 1,700 million shillings for the purpose of irrigation, grazing and fishing. The fisheries officer of the council, Kevin Ndege, informs that if it is used for agriculture, about 2,000 people from 3 villages will be used while fishing activities continue.
I assure you that we will continue to get to fish in this pond for different people to make sure we reach the goals of the pond's capacity and get the number of fish mentioned above.
Speaking on behalf of the Masaka residents, the ward councillor Matthew Nganyagwa thanks the government for hearing their request, but he says more has to be done there.
Currently, there are 200 cubic liters and more, which means they are enough for irrigation. If they had come, they would have built a corridor in collaboration with the people of Rufiji.
The CCM Secretary General Chongolo gives instructions.
They have brought 55 billion Tanzania shillings to Pawaga, and they are building an irrigation project. I will tell the Minister of Agriculture that despite the fact that you have installed Pawaga, he needs to look for irrigation scheme because water is available. I promise to personally talk to Minister, and I assure you that he will be here with the expert within these 3 weeks.
Early in the morning, the CCM Secretary General Chongolo speaks to the residents of Banda Beach area at Ifunda Ward and gave an ultimatum of 1 month the director of Iringa District Council to allow the new Ifunda Health Center to start providing medical services. Irene Mwakalinga, TBC, Iringa.
Thank you very much, Irene Mwakalinga, for that report. Now, before we wind up our local news tonight, let us have a look at today's exchange rates according to the Bank of Tanzania, BOT. TBC News every weekday to know all the latest in exchange rates. Time now for all the latest in international news. News read to you by Esero Mafuru.
President William Ruto of Kenya has urged the African leaders and the private sector to support ongoing efforts aimed at eliminating unnecessary impediments to regional trade. Addressing delegates at the opening of the 3rd Kenya International Investment Conference during the African Private Sector Dialogue on the African Continental Free Trade Area, President Ruto said African countries should work together on a plan to ease movement of people from the continent to boost up economy.
And in the middle of all this, we are all subjected to a dollar environment. Kenyans want to pay for Tanzanian goods in dollars. Tanzania wants to pay for DRC goods in dollars. Egypt wants to pay. Why are we bringing dollars in the middle of our trade? This is a question we should be asking ourselves.
The ongoing conference includes a working retreat for 44 African trade ministers to develop the African Continental Free Trade Area, AfCFTA. The United States and Saudi Arabia have called on the military sides in Sudan to extend a fragile ceasefire as weeks of fighting reached a deadlock in the capital and elsewhere in the African country. In a joint statement, United States and Saudi Arabia has called for an extension of the current truce scheduled to expire this Monday. It also urged the Sudanese military government and the rival paramilitary Rapid Support Forces RSF to continue negotiation to reach an agreement on extending the ceasefire. And the Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has said the most urgent issue is to eliminate the problems arising from the price increases caused by inflation and to compensate for welfare losses in Turkey. President Erdogan promised on those challenges after he won a re-election with 52.14% of votes in the second round on Sunday, beating his challenger Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu, who won 47.86% of the votes. Speaking before his supporters in Istanbul, President Erdogan said they have completed the second round of presidential election with the favor of Turkish people. He also congratulated the people of Turkey and said the most urgent issue the country currently faced was inflation, before adding it was not a difficult problem to solve. President Erdogan added that healing the wounds of the February earthquakes and rebuilding the cities and towns destroyed in the natural disaster would continue to be among his priorities.
That was international news. Sports news is up next. And in sports news, the acting director of sports, Ministry of Culture, Arts and Sports, Ali Mayai, says the government is disappointed following the death of one football fan that occurred when the crowd forced itself into the Benjamin Mkapa Stadium yesterday. Speaking to the TBC News reporter in Dar es Salaam, the acting director asked that the government will take necessary measures on how fans will be entering in the stadium to watch football matches so as to avoid similar disasters.
Public awareness is needed so as people can understand and obey the principles. For example, whenever security organs speak, you should recognize that the security is there for your safety.
Algiers won the match by beating Young Africans 2-1. The second leg of CAF Confederation Cup finals will be held in the Algerian capital of Algiers in a week's time. In other sports news, the Tanzanian professional golfers Nuru Molil and Frank Mwinuka have won the Inspire African Golf Open Championship, and now they believe that they are ready to compete for other continental tournaments. Speaking in Arusha, Molil and Mwinuka say they faced tough competition from their opponents, which forced them to use extra efforts to win their games and become champions.
I scored 77 shots in the first day and 77 shots in the second day. I thank God for helping me to win the tournament, and I advise my fellow professional golfers to practice more for the coming African competitions. In my side, I have made some corrections, that's why I became a second winner in the competition. The tournament was difficult due to high competition from participants. I'm going to do more practice ready for the coming tournament.
Professional golfers from Uganda, Kenya, Malawi, Mozambique, Ghana, South Africa and the host Tanzania participated in Inspire African Golf Open, which was finalized at the weekend in Arusha. And that marks the end of the news bulletin for tonight. Thank you very much for watching. I am Faida Ngaga. Good night.